Hello, friends from the interweb. Thidumgamer here with another game review. This time I'm wanting to go ahead and review the board game Labyrinth, a race for treasures in a moving maze, by Ravensburger. Now, Labyrinth is a game that I had as a kid, enjoyed playing it then. I now have a copy to play with my own family. The game itself is recommended for players 7 to 99, so if you're under 100, never mind. No, it is a game, it is designed for, more in mind for children, and you can tell through the artwork in the game and the gameplay itself. It does recommend 2 to 4 players. Well, you can't have more than 4, and playing by yourself is boring with this. Finally, it does not have a time. Oh, it does. Time, about 20 to 30 minutes. Games typically run around there. And being a Ravensburger game, it does have different things that it will teach. It does have a lot of luck. There is strategy. You do have to communicate. You do have to... You do learn from doing this game, on and on and on. Creativity, action is all included. Now, the game itself is rather simple. You have a board, and on the board you will lay out tiles. Now, not all tiles move on this, but from the corners, every other tile in moves. You'll pull out the board, you'll lay out all the tiles, and you'll have one extra tile. Each player will choose the color of the player that they want to play. We have yellow, red, orange, and blue. And I know with the lighting it looks kind of black, but it is blue. It's a very dark blue. As I said, you'll have an extra tile. We'll get into that in a little bit. And finally, you have treasure cards. And you'll deal out all the treasure cards to each player evenly. And each treasure card has a corresponding treasure on the map, such as here. And this card is one of the unmovable ones. But when you deal out the cards, the players don't look at them. And the base rules. There's an alternative rule if you're playing with younger players that you might want to use. But each player will go ahead and take a look, without showing the other players, at the top card on their deck, find where that treasure is. Again, don't indicate it to the other players, but for explanation's sake, okay, beetle. Beetle is right here. And then game will go ahead and start. Choose however you want for the first player, but once play starts, the first thing a player will do is take this extra tile, and you'll notice there are little arrows on the board. These arrows indicate where you can put a tile to move the dungeon, labyrinth, maze, whatever you want to call it. So you will go ahead and put the tile down and push the entire row until it's in the labyrinth. That, of course, will knock a tile off of the board, and you'll set it aside because when the next player goes, they'll need to use that tile. Next thing you'll want to do, and we'll go ahead and say we're blue, is try to figure out, well, you're always trying to figure out how to get to your treasure, but you'll go ahead and move anywhere that has a path. You can move one, you can move all the way to the end, you could move however many you want. You just can't jump through walls. Jump over walls, however you want to look at it. You go to the end of the path is the furthest you can go. And then it's the next player's turn. Gameplay goes on until a player has landed on all their treasure cards, and each time you land on a treasure card, you'll go ahead and turn it face up and look at the next card in your pile. Once a player has landed on all their treasure cards, all their cards are treasures, and all their cards are face up, they will move back to their starting point. And of course, the starting points have the color of the player. The first person to make it back to their starting point wins the game. Now, I had mentioned alternate rules for younger players, and I have used this myself when teaching younger kids to play this game, is instead of putting the cards face down and only drawing one card at a time, with younger players, what you can do is go ahead and deal their cards face up, and they can choose any treasure to try to get to, and once they reach that treasure, they'll go ahead and turn that card face down. Gameplay is pretty much the same. Once all their cards are face down, they try to move back to their starting point. Now, another thing that happens with this game, as I mentioned, is strategy. So, the green player has gotten all of his cards, and he needs to get back to his point. The other players, while trying to get their treasures, are also going to try to make it impossible for the green player to get back here. So there is strategy. Other things that will happen. So the green player's sitting right there. I can move the green player. Now, if a player is knocked off a board because you moved a tile, so the green player, let's say, was sitting on the ghost, instead of just being gone off of the game, what's going to happen is you'll put them down on the tile that you just used to push the entire row. So that may help them, that may hurt them. As for the game itself, very fun game. It's a quick game. I know it says 20 to 30 minutes. You don't really notice it. Time goes by rather quickly while you're playing this game. It's quick pace. You're only doing a couple things each move. In fact, when I play with my kids, I've spent more time trying to figure out how best to get to the next treasure than I do playing my own turn. And you're usually doing that with during the other player's turns. Replayability. Well, they move. The cards are randomly dealt out. No game is going to be the same. Same concept. You're still trying to go through, but it's not going to be the same game board. Every time you play, you're not going to have the same treasures you're going after. And you may or may not have the same people that you're playing with all the time. It is fun. We've enjoyed this immensely. It is a great game to pull out and play rather quickly. And there's some good-natured razzing going on at times while we're playing this game. Oh my gosh, you moved that. I can't believe you blocked me. But, you know, it's fun. It's good-natured. And as for the age range, well, you know my thoughts on all age ranges. There is nothing here. This is the entire artwork of the game. There's nothing on this game that is too mature. It's not violent. It's not scary. I mean, there is a skull in here somewhere. Right there. But there's nothing really scary about the game. I mean, heck, here's the ghost. Looks like Casper's cousin or something. It's a fun game as long as the child understands the concepts going on with this game. They should have no problem playing it. Difficulty? I know I may have missed difficulty on a couple of my games, but difficulty-wise, I give it a strong 2.5. Obviously not a game that you're going to sit there and, you know, spend the counter and just move however many it says. Or draw a card and move to the next color on that card, like Candyland. There is some strategy involved. The strategy is not a difficult strategy. Most of it is trying to figure out how to move the dungeon or move yourself to get to your treasure. You know what treasure you're going for. It's just trying to figure out a way to get there. And as I said, replayability, very replayable. Definitely have enjoyed this game. About the only problem I have with this game is, excuse me, setup and cleanup. There's a lot of tiles here. Cleanup's a little bit easier, but setup, you got to go through all these tiles and lay them down one at a time on the path. and we definitely try to do it randomly, so they're upside down. You just flip it over and lay it down on the next open square. But definitely, if you get a chance to find it, definitely recommend checking it out. You may have to go online to find that. I have not seen this in my local game store in a smaller area, so it only carries the more popular games. And this is more of a family game, a kid-friendly game. So might not find it in your local game stores. You might find it at some of the department stores, but definitely should be able to find it online. Got this copy as a gift, so I didn't ask where they got it from. I was just very appreciative to have the game again. I definitely enjoy it. But other than that, I do recommend, especially if you have younger children that like board games and want something a little bit more than your typical Battleship, Monopoly, and games like that. Definitely recommend checking it out if you get a chance to pick it up. It is fun. It does teach some strategy which is great when you start getting into later board games on how to move, how to plan ahead, things like that. As always, I will go ahead and put a link in the description below for Ravensburger. They do have a lot of other games that I have seen, and they do tend to be more educational. I mean, not horribly educational, but there's a lot that can be learned from these games. Strategy is one of the big things here. Spatial recognition, things like that is definitely what you're getting out of this, but it's fun. But I'll definitely have a link in the description below. As always, if you have any game suggestions, let me know. I'll see if I can't pick up a copy, try it out, give my own thoughts on it. If I have a copy and I have forgotten to put that on my upcoming list of games to review, I'll definitely move it closer or just pull it out and review it entirely. If you like the video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you want to know when my next video is going to be out, or when I put my next video out, go ahead and hit that bell notification button. Definitely subscribe if you are liking this game content. Always welcome comments about what you're wanting to see, what kind of games you want to see, what kind of videos you want to see. Do you want just reviews? Do you want me to go through and actually play a couple rounds of some of these games? At this point, I'm not going to be playing an entire game that's more than a 5-minute game, but I'll definitely go through a few rounds, if nothing else. Just leave a comment what you're wanting. Also, if you have friends that you think would like this content, definitely let them know about this channel. The more viewers I get, the better it helps build this channel. As I said before, these are all games that I own. I have been given as gifts, or I've actually bought outright. There has been a game or two that I have won in a contest, game store, things like that, just random drawing. But these are all games that are in my collection, and just reviewing them as games that I own and my thoughts on the games. None of these are, here, come play this game and give me a good review. If that ever happens, and believe me, I'm not going to turn down, here's a new game, play through and let us know what you think, but I will definitely let you know if that happens. But as always, I hope you have a great week. I do hope to see you again next time, and be good to yourselves.